It takes time to plan a trip, and Brazil was no different. South America and Central America, or Latin America, however you want to describe it, was no exception. This was going to be a much more serious trip. Between coming back from 2011 and between then in 2014, we decided that we wanted to travel for a much longer period of time. We'd learned a lot of lessons. We decided that we would go out for about 10 months this time. Admittedly, 6 of those weeks would be based in Rio de Janeiro for the World Cup. We decided not to travel too extensively around Brazil, but base ourselves in one place, which is what we decided to do. In order to learn from the mistakes that we made from 2011, we decided a couple of things. We, in the planning stages, decided where we're going to fly to. Well, we're going to fly to Brazil for the World Cup. We're going to stay in Rio. So great, no problem. We'll spend the whole 6 weeks or so there, a couple of days either side for a laugh. Brilliant. Where do we want to finish? Where do we want to end up? Now, we ended up deciding that we would go on a lads' holiday for the last couple of weeks. So we looked at a map, saw Cancun in Mexico, and went, yeah, we'll get my brother out, we'll get a couple of friends out, we'll have a complete blowout. We need to finish in Cancun. That's where we're going to finish. So we booked up an all-inclusive 2 weeks to relax, sit back. That date was in the diary. Brazil was in the diary because World Cup dates were there. And then we looked at Christmas and we looked at another place. We looked at a map again and we said, look, Aaron wants to go to the Galapagos, 100% wants to go to the Galapagos. For myself, it was Easter Island, of all the Maori statues. I said, well, let's book in Easter Island because it's a pain in the ass to get to. It's a 4, 5, 6 hour flight. Flights are not particularly regular. Let's book it in. Let's get that sorted so we've got a midpoint. So we've done that for September. The Galapagos, we said, well, we'll deal with that as and when. But for Christmas, let's have a bit of royalty at Christmas. Let's stay in Panama. Let's stay at, again, all-inclusive, 5-star hotel. Let's sort of, festive period. Let's have a bit of quality. So that's what we've done. Rio to start off with. A few months later, it would be Chile. A few months later, it would be Panama. And about 6 or 7 weeks after Panama, we'd arrive in Cancun, have a couple of weeks lads holiday, and then fly home from there. Everything else in the middle was fair game. We kind of created a list of places that we would like to go to. Again, the key thing being, mine was Easter Island, Aaron's was the Galapagos. Everything else in the middle was pretty much the same mentality as last time. Let's make it as cheap as possible, but let's have a bit more flexibility. Let's not over plan it. Let's chat more with people. Let's book things last minute, and we'll do it that way. And that's exactly what we've done. The detailed parts, building up to Brazil, was getting hold of World Cup tickets. Now, England had qualified, placed in a tough group with Italy, Uruguay, and bizarrely Costa Rica. I say bizarrely because they ended up doing really well in that tournament, did Costa Rica. But we managed to get tickets for the England game against Costa Rica in a place called Belo Horizonte, which is about a 7-hour bus journey away from Rio. We also applied for tickets for the final because it was on the 13th of July, which is yours truly's birthday. Didn't get tickets for the final, which sucked because that would have been great to have seen England win the World Cup in Brazil on my birthday. But we did get tickets for a quarter-final game at the world-famous Maracanã Stadium in Rio. So we knew we had a couple of sets of tickets. If you don't know a lot about football, we'll try not to talk too much about football throughout the travel, but we love to combine the travel and football. So I'll keep it to a minimum, keep it entertaining. You can tell the excitement's building up because I'm starting to speak faster. My voice is going more coarse as I speak here. It's Brazil, it's football, it's chaos, it's madness, there's sambas, there's people on the beach. You're talking Rio, you're talking, Ipanema, you're talking Copacabana, you're talking the Sugarloaf Mountain, you're talking Christ the Redeemer. Absolutely brilliant, the whole lot, the absolute whole lot. Got to the airport, got to Heathrow Airport, and we booked tickets with Flight Centre, booked tickets to Rio, booked a few other things. Got to Flight Centre, I got to Heathrow and went to check in. Well, we were flying via Rome, so again, cheap as possible. Flying into Rome, flying out from Rome to Rio, which was quite ironic because there's a Rome to Rio website, so we've done it, which is pretty cool. Went to check in and the woman behind the departure desk said, have you got your exit tickets? And we said, well, no. why would we need exit tickets? And he said, right, so World Cup, Brazilian state have basically said they're allowing people in if they're flying, but they must have proof of onward travel. So cue a big debate we had with the person at the check-in desk. We were getting frustrated, she was getting frustrated, because we kept saying, well, look, love, we've got tickets to fly from Santiago in Chile to Easter Island in September. So how do you think we're going to get there? You know, Rio de Janeiro isn't Santiago last time we checked. How do you think we're going to get there? That wasn't washing with her. And that went back and forth for about 10 minutes until, we realised that, look, they're not, literally aren't going to allow us on. We weren't told about this. So we were getting very agitated. So we had to piss away a few £100 on a flight out of Rio to Buenos Aires. It was there. If we decided to use it, we would use it. But if not, we wouldn't use it. And that issue with Flight Centre went back for a long, long time. We kept saying to them, you didn't tell us. They kept saying to us, well, you didn't ask us. I think the mentality at the time was, it's their fault. It's always someone else's fault, etc., etc., etc. When I look back on it now, I kind of you hold your hands up and go, yep, do you know what? Actually, should have taken a bit more responsibility here. Should have taken a bit more knowledge. Hands up. My mistake. It is what it is. We got on the plane to Rome. Simple journey. Stayed over there. Flew into Rio. And what we'd done, we'd booked an apartment for 6 weeks. So we spent about £3,500 on this massive apartment, massive 2-bed apartment from a local guy. He was staying elsewhere, so we had full room in the apartment. But because we got to Rio an extra day early, we just booked in a cheapo sort of hostel. They were still cheap at the time because it was a few days before the World Cup started. So we done that. Got in, we're a bit jet lagged. You get into Rio, you get into the main airport, went through customs, and I remember needing the toilet. I went into the toilet, and there was, again, this is probably quite a Western thing. You get into the toilet, and we used to having your nice sort of porcelain god sat there, a nice clean toilet seat, everything's fine. I remember walking into this toilet at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there was literally shit everywhere. It was disgusting. No toilet seat, graffiti everywhere, and I'm like, man, what have we let ourselves into here in Rio, in South America? What the hell have we just signed up for? just absolute madness. All of that being said, we got on the bus, and it was cool because we took a trip from there all the way down to pretty much Copacabana, and the sun was coming up, so you could see people streaming down from the favelas. The sun's coming up. This is pretty cool. This is a good introduction. We've got loads of bags on us. You've got to keep your wits about you. Got dropped off at the beach, which was right next to the hotel, funnily enough. And we checked in. And it's about 6, 7 in the morning. And we checked in, and the guy said, the room's ready, feel free. So we got up there, and we'd learnt this again from last time. We said, well, if we go to sleep now, we're messing up the body clock. We're screwed. We have to stay awake. Or what can we do to stay awake? Like, well, okay, we'll do what we do best. We'll go for a very long walk. So we went all the way down to Copacabana, all the way back up again, all the way back down again, all the way back up again. That took about 8 hours because, number one, it's a long beach. Number two, we were stopping for drinks. So that helped as well. But we saw some cool things on the beach. Not many people there. You could see everyone's building up. You could see all the TV stations and whatnot. But we saw the Romford Pele himself, Ray Parlour. He was playing beach volleyball. Walked up, and there's a guy wearing glasses, short guy wearing glasses. I was like, that looks like Edgar Davids, that does. Nah, surely not. Sat down, watched them for a little bit. Holy shit, it was Edgar Davids. Edgar Davids playing beach volleyball as well. We saw, again, all the TV stations, people lining up, that sort of stuff. And that was an introductory experience. By the way, seeing a Brazilian beach for the first time is magnificent. A lot of eye candy, put it that way. They have a complete mixture of females, and they're not scared to flaunt it, put it that way. So I think I'd probably walk down with jaws down by our legs, eyes wide open, going humana, humana, humana. That's probably what we were doing at the time. Some very attractive ladies, to say the least. That was day one. Day two was a simple case of moving from the hostel to the apartment. Didn't have internet at the time, but we knew where the apartment was. We Google Mapped it. Got to the apartment. There was no way to buzz the apartment. So we were looking at the apartment, tried speaking to the grounds person that was there. No idea, because most residences in Brazil will be gated, and they'll have a local security person working the gates. English was bad, no idea. Our Portuguese was non-existent either, so we had no idea what was going on. We tried ringing the guy's workplace. Again, conversation was minimal. At this point, we were panicking a little bit. We were thinking, we just spent $3,500 on this accommodation. It was Airbnb. It's the first, it's a large amount of cash at the time. What's going on here? What are we doing? Have we just lost our money? Has this guy done a runner? What are we going to do? Accommodation? All these thoughts going through your heads. You're running around like headless chicken. And all of a sudden, Kai comes out of the apartment block, comes down. It's like, Rob, Aaron. And so, yeah, seem. Great guy. I forgot his name now, but really nice guy. Showed us the apartment, left us to it. And it was getting great, massive apartment, bathrooms, everything everywhere. Great experience. And he said, welcome to Brazil, welcome to Rio. He said a couple of things that you might want to bear in mind. He said if you go into the beach or you're going to, anywhere near any favelas, only take what you need. Don't take chains, don't take anything flashy, wear basic clothes. He said flip-flops, if you've got flip-flops, get a carob clip and, clip them to yourself, because the street kids will nick everything that they can get their hands on. He said, usual stuff. If you need anything, I'm here. Have fun, just be cautious. He said, don't get ridiculously drunk, because, you can end up in all sorts of bother. He said also, the police, not necessarily the best. Although it is World Cup, he said, just keep your eyes open. So that was it. Used his apartment for 6 weeks. It was fantastic. Had a great time. Went to pick up our tickets as well. Went to pick up the tickets, got that done. And then before you know it, it's the day of the first game. Brazil are opening the World Cup. It's their own World Cup. They're at home. Expectations are high. In all fairness, going into the tournament, their squad's not that good. They've got a half-injured Neymar. And a half-injured Thiago Silva at the back. The rest of their squad, on paper, really not that good, but home advantage is home advantage. Popped down to Copacabana Beach, bit slow to start off with in terms of people meeting there, but it picked up, and the atmosphere when Brazil kicked off, indescribable. People dancing up and down. Unfortunately, there were a few vuvuzelas there. Looking through the photos, some guy got rescued from the water. Don't know what happened to him, but he got rescued. Remember the helicopter coming down to rescue him? Half the eyes were on the game, half the eyes were on this rescue mission going on. Brazil ended up winning, I think 3-0, maybe 3-1. It was an easy game. Everyone was in celebratory mood. Everyone was having a good time. First game done. Wonderful. Thanks to the timing and thanks to structure, we decided we were going to watch every game. We were going to watch every game in the World Cup. Thanks to the timing. What it enabled us to do, because of the way the timing worked, was there would be a game. I think it was something like 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 7 o'clock local time, something like that. So we knew that on game days when the games were being played, we could get up in the morning, we'll have some breakfast, we'll go out for a walk somewhere, or do something, and then come back, watch all the games, drink a bunch of beer. Might go to the beach and watch the odd game or two, but sit in the apartment, drink beer, keep it cheap and cheerful, watch a bunch of football, drink a bunch of beer. That's pretty much it for about 4 weeks. There were days off, as there normally are between group games and knockout games, but we'll get to that in a bit. But we'll finish off this particular episode with watching England at a major tournament. Thankfully, we were lucky enough, we're going to fast forward to 2021, lucky enough to be at the final of Euro 2020, England-Italy, at Wembley. It still scars me to even think about it. I'll be honest with you, I don't like losing at the best of times. But we were there, to say that we were there is something that was going to live on in the memory. And we both love football, never seen England at a major tournament before. High hopes for this team. It'd just been taken over by Roy Hodgson. So it was a bit of a free pass, was 2014. You're in a tough group. You got Italy, you got Uruguay, you got Costa Rica. Before the tournament started, the simple thought was, well, if we can get something off of Italy and Uruguay, you're going to beat Costa Rica anyway. You'll probably qualify maybe with 5 points. Happy days. Well, unfortunately, the World Cup didn't go quite to plan for England. Lost 2-1 against Italy. lost 2-1 against Uruguay. So we had tickets for the England-Costa Rica game. Costa Rica, by the way, who had beaten Italy and Uruguay. So they'd already qualified, remarkably, in that tournament. So we went into the final game in Belo Horizonte. It was a 7-hour trip to the city by bus. Didn't see much of the city, to be fair, but what we did see seemed all right. Went to watch England play. It was absolutely shit. 0-0, dog crap game. A couple of highlights. Number one, it was Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard's last ever game for England. So that, again, that's cool to say that we saw that. Secondly, if you have to put a positive spin on anything, we drew 0-0 with Costa Rica. So we're the only team not to lose to them in the group stage. Hey, you got to take these positives where you can. The coach was full of England fans. Everyone was complaining, as you can imagine. Not the showing that we wanted. It's very lethargic. I mean, Euro 2016 was a different story anyway. But that was watching England at a major tournament. I'm pretty sure it's not good for your health. You probably need to see a doctor before and after, probably for trauma, watching England at a major tournament. But England's tournament was done, and as is always a fact when England get knocked out of a tournament, the pressure goes off you a little bit as a fan. You can sit back, you can watch it, you don't really care, you let it go. It is what it is, you have fun. You can watch the rest of the games without pressure. Part 2 of Rio, we're going to talk about Christ the Redeemer, birthdays, World Cup final, the madness at the Maracanã in the semi-final as well, and the effect that had on the Brazilian people. But before we do that, a crazy story. On the road we were staying on, there was a lovely bakery, great bakery that you could pick up at a coxinha or a quibe, like Brazilian snack food, delicious place. We'd been told by the host of the apartment that there was a little plaza around the corner where he said for one of the Brazil games, he said, go round to the plaza around the corner. He said, you're going to have a great time. There'll be loads of local people there. You sit in the park. There's probably going to be a barbecue. You'll have beer. You'll have a good laugh. So Brazil's second game in the tournament was against Mexico. 6 o'clock kickoff. We got round to the park about 5:45. There's not a lot going on. Not many people there. A bit eerie. We thought, well, this is a bit strange. We said, well, we've got a game to watch here. We want to see Brazil play. The bars were packed. I couldn't get into the bars to see anything. About 5-6. This is a bit dodgy now. What are we going to do, mate? And what's going on? Out of nowhere, a camper van pulls up. Brazilians love their Volkswagen campers, and kudos to them for that. A Volkswagen camper pulls up. It's a Megadeth Volkswagen camper. You have never seen anything like this in your life. A Megadeth camper van pulls up. 3 quite big guys get out of the camper van. It's pulled up next to the plaza. 3 guys get out. Next thing you know, the side door's being opened. The TV's taken out. It's tied to the top of the minivan, the camper. I don't know to this day where they got their electric from. Bollocks knows where they got the electric from. Next thing you know, the TV's up there. It's right in time for the Brazilian national anthem. The plaza becomes flooded full of people. Brazil shirts, Vasco da Gama shirts, all the local football teams there. Muggins here's in his Reading shirt. He's sticking out like a sore thumb. He is loving it. The beer's flowing. Tubs of Heineken are being passed out. Tins of Heineken are being passed out as well. Next thing you know, the game's being played. Don't get me wrong, it's a terrible game. It's 0-0, nothing happens. Just being in that plaza, watching that unfold was incredible. 1 minute, nothing's happening. Next minute, boom, see you later. Everything's in chaos. People watching the game, people having the right old laugh. We were chatting to a couple of Brazilian guys, again, doing our trick of naming as many Brazilian football teams as you can and nodding. They were saying Manchester United, Manchester City, sim, Vasco da Gama and Fluminense, sim. They got offered a carnival drug. So, what's going on here? So they got offered the carnival drug. These guys were taking it, showed us what to do. So you dab a bit on your shirt. It's like a popper, basically. Pop it up your nose, deep breath in, sniff in. And they said you'll be high as a kite. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh yeah, definitely high as a kite. Got that high that what we done, and I kid you not, we out of our mind. And this is the only game we missed in the World Cup. I think it was Iran, South Korea, or some nonsense like that. It ended up 1-1, but we didn't watch it. We were that high that we got the munchies, decided to go back to the apartment, but noticed that the cake shop was open. Didn't think it would be. Noticed the cake shop was open. Woke up the next day and there's cake everywhere. I mean, literally there's cake everywhere. There's a cake in the sink. We're not talking like your little sort of Belgian buns. You're talking big, massive cake. There's cake everywhere. There's cake in the bedrooms. There's cake in the sink. There's cake on the floor. There's cake on the TV. There's cake on a toilet seat. There's one in the shower. Where there was cake, where you could think of a place that was cake, and we are hanging. We are absolutely hanging. They're both, vomiting first thing in the morning. I'm looking around at all this cake. So fucking hell, Aaron, what the hell have we done here? The next couple of days, we were ropey. Absolutely ropey. We watched all the games from inside the apartment. And we actually ate. We just lived off cake for about 3 days. Kid you not. And we got back to the cake shop a few days later. And the people in the counter were looking at us very weirdly. And they were laughing and smiling a little bit. And, so we learnt a bit of Portuguese. And we had this time we had a little translator thing with us. We basically said, what happened the other night? Because they recognised us. And in a nutshell, what had happened is apparently we turned up high as a kite, no idea what's going on. And they weren't meant to close for another couple of hours. But we asked them for every single thing they had left on the shelf, which again was mainly cake. And they apparently just said, yeah. We said, but if you do that now, we're going to have to close. And we said, we're serious. We're going to buy all your cake. You go home for the evening. You have a good evening. We'll buy the cake. It cost about 30 quid once we converted it, which wasn't bad. But apparently that's what happened. Neither of us have any recollection of it. But that's what the ladies, the bakery shop said after we'd gone in there a few days afterwards. Yeah, we cleared them out of cake. We took all the cake home and that was it. So fun story of cake. You can never have too much cake. Amen to that. That's where we'll leave that. That's one of those stories. I appreciate these sorts of things only happen when you're travelling. But that was Rio. That's halfway through Rio. On the next segment, we will be talking about the rest of Rio, looking at Chrysler Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, talking about the semi-final and what it was like to be on a beach full of Argentinians in Brazil. And those two countries don't get along. So stick with us for next time to find out what happened in the rest of Rio. Till next time, auf Wiedersehen.